Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today our group will present a review on the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Okay, so let's first do a brief introduction to the author and the book. It was written by Stephen Richard Covey. He was an American educator, author, businessman, and keynote speaker. His most prominent work as an author is this book, which was sold 25 million copies in 40 languages worldwide, and it is the best-selling non-fiction business book in history. Okay, so that is the structure of the book. So for the sake of the presentation, we are going to focus on part 2 and part 3, public and private victory, specifically on habit 1, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Okay, so let's move to the first habit, which is the most fundamental habit of all 7 habits in the book. Be proactive. Okay, so what actually means to be proactive? Covey stated that to be proactive is about taking responsibility for your life. You cannot keep blaming on other things, on other people for things that you are facing in life. So in this sense, Covey made 2 categories of people who are opposite to each other: proactive people and reactive people. Proactive people, they do not blame genetics or conditions for their behavior or how they respond towards certain things in life. They know they choose the behavior, and their behavior is a product of their carefully thought about values from their own conscious choice. But reactive people, on the other hand, they are often affected by physical environment. They blame external factors for their behavior, and their behavior is a product of their feelings. They are driven by circumstances and conditions. So let me put a simple example for you. If the weather is bad, if the weather is good, reactive people will feel good. But if it is not good, then reactive people will feel not good. It will affect their performance, their attitude, for example. But on the other hand, proactive people, they will not affected by that. Whether it rains or shines, if their value is to do a good work, to perform well, then they will do so without having the weather affect them. Okay, so next, this is the flow, this example of the flow on how we normally respond to a stimuli. Okay, so external forces, for example, problems such as bad weather, heavy workload, strict lecturer, they act as stimulus which we will respond to. So between stimulus and response, we have freedom to choose on how our response is going to be, on what to do next. And Covey stated that humans have these 4 gifts to assist us in choosing. They are self-awareness, imagination, conscious, and independent will. So how do we actually utilize the freedom of choose correctly? First, we must identify the things which we can or cannot control. So Covey put challenges, problems, and opportunities that we have as humans into 2 areas: circle of influence and circle of concern. Proactive people, they will focus their time and effort on circle of influence, things which they can control. For example, performance in studies, our health, problems with friends, things which we as humans can control. But reactive people, they will focus on circle of concern, things over which they have little or no control of. For example, national debt, terrorism, weather. They can only keep complaining about it because it is a problem they cannot solve at the first place. Okay, so how do we measure one's proactiveness? Covey, he laid down language as one of the indicators. Reactive people language will be, I cannot, there's nothing that I can do, I won't, they won't allow that. Their language absolve them of responsibility. But proactive people, they will say, I prefer, I will. Let's look at the alternatives. Their language shows that they are taking charge, they are taking responsibility of the things that they are facing. Okay, so in becoming proactive, the first and giant step to take is to gain awareness of the areas of the things which we can control, or on the things that we should expend our energies and time on. And remember, to be proactive is you cannot be a product of the circumstances. You must be the product of your own decisions. You must take the responsibility. Okay, so let's move to the next habit.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I will be focusing on habit 3, which is regarding the physical creation, or in other words, actualization. So basically, habit 1 and 2 is lean more to the spiritual creation, where it is in regards to your you need to have goals in your life and stuff like that. But in habit 3, it is more to you need to start working on yourself to achieve your goals. And so in order, so how can actualization occur in our life? It is by practicing the effective self-management, where effective self-management can be achieved or can be conducted by the independent will. So basically, independent will act as the fundamental principle in this habit, where independent will is the ability to choose or to make decisions and to act in accordance with the decisions and choices that you have made before. So basically, in order for you to achieve the independent will, you need to go through the stage of empowerment. So basically, empowerment is when you wanted to do something, and then you can practice every day and consistently, so that you can achieve the independent will. So basically, once you have achieved the independent will through the empowerment, then you can practice the effective management. Or effective management is the method of putting first thing first, or basically it's basically you have a lot of things to do, right, in our life. So you need to pick maybe 2 or 3 from your list that needs the crucial things for you to achieve. So so usually for the effective management, you need to, people usually say for us to practice effective management, you need to be someone who a disciplined kind of person. But actually, according to this book, the author stated that effective management did not come from disciplines, but disciplines come from the effective management. Which means, if you are not a disciplined kind of person, that's okay, because once you start practicing effective management, you can start being a disciplined kind of person. Effective management are very closely related to the time management, which time management is for you to look at how you handle your time perfectly, or basically how good you are in controlling your time according to your list of priorities. So time management is to organize or to execute activities according to your list of priorities. And in this book, has listed down 4 divisions for time management. With the first one is notes and checklists, where you need to maybe jot down everything that you think is important, so that you think important, so that you can so that you do not miss any important deadlines in your life. And then the next one is calendars and appointment books, where calendars and appointment books is familiarly known among us as planner, where I think most of you have planner once in your life. So basically, I think personally for me, planner which can make your the way you manage your time can go smoothly, because you know what to focus on this week and what to focus on the next month and stuff like that. And the next one is prioritization, clarification, setting goals, and planning, where this one is after you jot down everything, and then you can prioritize which one you think the most important for you to achieve it. So, and the last one is time management matrix, or also known as the time quadrant, where the time quadrant in this book have the author listed down 4 time quadrants: the first one, the second one, and the third and fourth one. And as for the time quadrant, the next presenter will be explaining on time quadrant. So that's all.
Okay, for the time quadrant, the first quadrant consists of urgent and important things. These are things that you should not ignore because they are urgent and important. So, however, spending too much time in this quadrant will eventually lead you to stress and burnout, and a continuous never-ending cycle of crisis management. So what is an example of the first quadrant? It is, for example, when you have your finals tomorrow and you can't ignore it, you have to study for it. However, if you've prepared earlier and studied earlier, you could have avoided the hassle of pulling an all-nighter by studying, which is, to be honest, what we end up doing every semester. So for the second quadrant, it's the not urgent but important methods. This is what most effective people, every effective people would practice. As effective people, they would usually think ahead, and they would work on the roots. For example, your finals is in a month or a few months away, and it's not really that urgent for you to start studying right away, right? So as an effective person, however, you would choose to study anyway every day to prepare for it. And quadrant 3 is the urgent but not important matters. The reality is most of us spend a big portion of time in the third quadrant, because usually we would confuse the urgent matters for the important ones. For example, we've just started studying. It's only been 5 minutes into our studies, and then we get a text from our friend, and our response would immediately be to reply to that text. And even though it's not important, but our mind perceives it as an urgent matter. If we continuously practice quadrant 3, then we would end up falling into a short-term focus with continual crisis management. Finally, for the fourth quadrant, which is not urgent and not important. So for this one, it's the endless scrolling through Instagram, streaming YouTube. Instead of doing our assignments or studying, it's watching that new episode of that K-drama when we have 4 deadlines by the end of the week. So these are all the 4 quadrants. So the best quadrant is obviously quadrant 2. So how can you effectively practice this quadrant? Firstly, what you can do is by listing down the things that you should be doing now, that you know is important, but you're not doing it now consistently every day. And then the other thing that you can do is by planning weekly. So make a weekly plan and list down all the things that you have to do that is urgent. And then using the free time slots, you put in the things that is not urgent, but then it's important for you to do, such as exercising, eating healthily. It's something that will benefit you in the long term. Moving on to the next habit.
Okay, moving on to the 4th habit, think win-win. So think win-win is the most important out of the 6 paradigms of human interaction. So we'll discuss one by one. The first one is win-win. It is the most important one, and it is when all agreements are mutually beneficial, mutually satisfying, and everyone feels good about the decision. Most of us tend to value ourselves based on competitions and comparisons, where only one person can win and the other has to lose. However, people with win-win thinking will feel that life is a cooperative arena instead of a competitive one. They will work with each other to achieve optimal results, and that one person's success is not achieved at the expense of the other's success. So a win-win thinking is that it is not your way or my way, it is a better way, a higher way. Everyone can be successful together and everyone can win together. So that's the first paradigm, win-win thinking. The next one is win-lose. Win-lose people always create a situation in which one party feels victorious and the other feels like a loser. They are prone to use wealth, positions, and credentials to get their way. Their thinking is that I get my way and you don't get yours. This kind of thinking discourages cooperation and weakens the relationship. However, it is sometimes also useful for some people in highly competitive and low trust situations. For example, for athletes. Nevertheless, most of life is not a competition, and we should base our relationships on cooperation rather than competition. The third paradigm is lose-win. Lose-win is the opposite of win-lose, and it is even worse than win-lose because it has no standards at all. They don't demand, they don't expect anything, they tend to give up easily. Lose-win people complement win-lose people the best because such weaknesses are of much help to them. They allow others to take advantage of them, and at the end, they will lose, either by giving in or giving up. Alright, the fourth paradigm is lose-lose. When 2 win-lose people get together, the result would be lose-lose. It is like when, for example, if you're fighting over a girl or a guy, and then you say to your rival, "Oh, if I can't have him, neither could you." So that's lose-lose thinking. It's the most destructive paradigm because both parties are revengeful towards each other, and they don't care if they lose, as long as their enemy loses. Okay, next is the win thinking. People who think win will only focus on securing their own ends, will only focus on getting what they want, and let others secure theirs. They don't really want the other party to lose, and they will work for what they want. And last but not least is the win-win or no-deal paradigm. Win-win or no-deal is a higher expression of win-win. It is when you cannot achieve a solution which benefits everyone, then all of you will agree to disagree. For example, if you know that your friend is a lazy person, it will be better off if you go for no deal at all. It is better for you to not deal with him, to become groupmates, for example, because if you did and your best friend did not work to your satisfaction, to your expectation, then it would affect your friendship with him. So that's why no deal is the best alternative for win-win. So the principle of win-win is the most fundamental, and it's the most fundamental in all our interactions, and it embraces 5 interdependent dimensions of life. So these dimensions are very related to each other and interdependent. And the first one is character. So character consists of 3 character traits, which are integrity, maturity, and abundance mentality. So the author defined integrity as the value we place on ourselves. Unless we really know our self-worthiness, our value, only then we can achieve win-win. Maturity, on the other hand, is the balance between courage and consideration. And to achieve win-win, we have to have both. We have to have courage and consideration. Because, for example, if we have the courage to speak out our own feelings, but we are not being considerate to the other person, the result will be win-lose. And if it's the other side, if it's vice versa, the result will be lose-win. So that's why a balance between maturity and balance between courage and consideration is very important. And next is the abundance mentality, which is the mentality that there is enough for everyone. There is enough to spare for everyone. And as students, we should have this abundance mentality. For example, we should not think that if we help our friend, then she'll know more than us and we will lose to her. No. Instead, we should think that even if we help our friend and she excels in that one particular subject, we can also be successful in other subjects. So from this character, other dimensions are developed, and these are all fundamental to the way we think.
Okay, so now move on to habit 5, which is say first to understand, then to be understood. So in this book, the author emphasized the principles of empathetic communication. Okay, so we learn for write, for read, and also for speak. But what about listening? So in this book, the author emphasized about the empathetic listening, and this is quoted by Dr. Stephen R. Covey, which is most people do not listen with the intent to understand, but they listen with the intent to reply. Because when we are listening to others, we are either speaking or we are ready to reply what they are saying, right? So empathetic listening is understanding what the message the other is trying to convey. Empathetic listening is like we are truly understand and we are deeply understand what the people are trying to say to us. Empathy listening, empathy is not a sympathy. It's not that we agree with someone. It's like we understand and we should know the situation, what they are being through, and they want to tell it to us. And also, we also do this whenever we are listening, which are we are ignoring to listening and we are pretending to listening. Just like yeah, when someone said something to you, you just like okay, yeah, something like that. And then selective listening. We are only here to someone at certain parts. And the last one is attentive listening, which is you listen to someone but you want to reply. You want to reply to her with your own experience. Like when someone said something to you and you reply that I have been through what you are. I have been through. Yeah, I've been through what you are been through right now. Okay, so this is the 4 levels of listening that we usually do, but we rarely use the 5th levels of listening, which is empathic listening. So this is a 4 autobiographical responses, and autobiographical is like one's own experience or our own life. When someone talk to us, we listen with these 4 autobiographical responses. Which is first, we evaluate. We either agree or disagree with someone. And second one is we probe. We ask so many questions about what they are saying. We are not listening to them fully. And the third one is advice. We listen, but we intend to advise based on our own experience and based on our own life. And the last one is interpret. Interpret is like we try to figure people out. We try to figure what is their motives and what is their behaviors based on our own behaviors and our own motives. So, what this is empathic listening involves developmental stages. This is to overcome the autobiographical responses that we usually do that we don't even realize that. Okay, so the first one is mimic content. Mimic content is the skill that really important in reflective or active listening. This is the most easiest thing we can do is when someone said something to us, we just repeat what they are saying. It shows that we really listen to them and we really want to understand what they are saying to us. And the second one is rephrase the content. Okay, so you rephrase the content, you rephrase what they are saying into your own words. And it's actually give them psychological air. Psychological air is you give the person emotional boost, because when someone talk to you and you give attention to them, it actually make them feel better and it make them feel better to share their story with you. And the third one is reflect feeling. Okay, so reflect feeling is like when someone tell to you and you reflect their feelings for them. And the last one is rephrase the content and reflect the feeling. This is the most vital because when you rephrase the content and reflect the feeling, so this is authentical to seek understand what other people are saying. See, so move on to one-on-one is consisting or being direct communication or exchange between two people. It's like face-to-face, eye to eye. Okay. So we focus on circle of words that being mentioned by Syahida before. Okay, so circle of influence is we really deeply understand the people, and we use the inside-out approach, which is the personal and interpersonal effectiveness, mean to start with our own self. And the last one is application suggestion, that what the author has suggest to us to improve our empathic listening is first, we select a relationship in which sense the emotional bank account is in the red. Okay. Emotional bank account is actually an account of trust and an account of our own feeling. And the second one is watch people communicate. And the third one is don't use the autobiographical responses, which I mentioned before, the four. And the last one is the most important thing is when we listen, we have to use the fifth level of listening, which is empathic listening.
So next, move on to the last habit, which is habit 7. So habit 7 focus on renewal or taking time to sharpen the saw. So in this habit, renewal is a process where that empowers us to move on an upward spiral of growth and change of continuous improvement. In this habit, the author Stephen Covey mentioned 4 dimensions that we need to practice regularly and in a balanced way. They are physically, spiritually, mentally, and socially. So the physically is in order for us, the purpose for us to renew our physical dimension is for us to exercise our body in a way that will enhance our capacity to work, adapt, and enjoy. So the author suggests 3 ways for us to renew our physical. There are we eat well and eat a healthy food, get a sufficient rest and relaxation, and exercise on a regular basis to build endurance, strength, and flexibility. So by renewing the physical dimension will help us